Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Frequency Soul Collective. We are doing a bit of a Q&A tonight on the AO scanner, and we are joined with the wonderful Beck McQuilty. Good evening. Hi.
Hello. Hi.
So, Beck, could you please give us a little bit of a background on you and how you came to this technology?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So I keep saying it was 3 years ago, but somebody keeps telling me it was 4 years ago. I don't feel like it was that long ago, but
Oh my gosh.
I know it's a while ago now. And it was honestly just a device at the time that a girlfriend of mine, one of my beautiful friends, her name is Amanda Matthews, and we do love Amanda Matthews, showed me this technology and she said, I'll do a scan on you. And I was like, oh yeah, I've had bioresonance done before. I've had it done at many different practitioners over the years. But do the scan, that'd be great. But when it actually showed the results that it did and how accurate they were, I had about a million questions for her. Where did you get it? How much does it cost? Can we get it here? All of the things. So yeah, it was really exciting actually when I saw it, because I think we were just coming out of the pandemic in like 20, it must have been like maybe 2021.
Mm,
And I honestly just prayed for something that people could help themselves take their own responsibility of their health back, because I feel like our hands were kind of tied in so many ways. I remember taking my daughter for an x-ray and her and I actually being made to stand out on the footpath of the hospital to wait for her appointment, for certain reasons. And I just remembered thinking that day, I just pray for something that I can actually take control of our own health back. So
yeah.
I believe that this was sent to us for that purpose.
Absolutely. No, it's been absolutely life-changing for so many people in that regard itself, just taking control back of your health.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the questions we've all been wanting answers to, if you don't mind.
No, I'm married.
Okay, so thank you very much for coming, everyone. That's the
Yeah.
end of the call.
Good night. Okay, go.
Okay, so yes, I'm going to ask a couple of questions if you don't mind answering. And so the first question is, what exactly is the AO scan? Like a foundational explanation of the technology and how it works.
Sure. Good question. So the AO scan technology is based on bioresonance. So bioresonance has been around for a really long time. We know the work of Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein and Dr. Royal Rife, who created Rife frequencies, where
Mm,
Rife frequencies were actually healing cancers, and proven to do so. And they taught us that we can actually change frequencies, and that every single thing has a frequency, whether it's an emotion or whether it's a physical aspect of the body. Everything resonates at a specific frequency, and this specific technology and bioresonance in general will be able to show you whether something is in range or out of range. And
mm,
when it's out of range, it means that it's not, let's use the common terms of behaving in the way that it is meant to behave. So the AO scan technology was originally designed, it was an enormous machine that was tens of thousands of dollars. And only really a small handful of practitioners really had access to it. One, for the reason of the price, two, for the reason
mm,
of the size of the machine. And the founder, Lauren Swenson, who developed the AO scan specific technology, really went looking for something for his son, because it was his son who was very, very unwell, and the general medicine route just wasn't helping them.
yeah.
And when he went on this journey, he was able to actually work on not only the technology, bringing it to market, but he really wanted it to be in the hands of everybody. And so there's different aspects of the scanner, but he thought, look, even if there was only one small aspect that they could bring down into a handheld device that was affordable, that was,
Mm.
easy to use, that people could use in their everyday life, how amazing would that be? So once he did that, he then he then had to extend it, of course, and My belief is now that the what we have access to in this, which is what is now a web application. I mean, when I started 4 years ago, you had to buy a specific
Mm,
machine. Like it was little, like it was like the size of an iPad or a phone, but you did still have to have a specific device. Whereas now you can actually use the technology, whether it be on your iPhone, Samsung obviously, but a tablet or an iPad or whatever the case may be,
yeah.
that we now have the capabilities of, if not all of that technology that was originally designed for practitioners, but probably even more now.
That's amazing.
Mm.
So how do you access the AO scan? Like, is it something you purchase from the App Store, or is it something that you have to go into a clinic, or is it like where,
Yeah.
how do you access it?
So the way that you access it is by it's a subscription, so you do pay a monthly fee,
Hmm.
and it's a small monthly fee, really, in comparison to the ability of what this scanner has the capability to do.
Yeah.
And you can actually download it as a web application. So it's not an app as such.
Hmm.
It is a web application. So as you can see on my screen here, where I've opened a web browser and I've simply gone to app.aoscan.com. This is exactly what comes up once you have your username and your login. So
Hmm.
I think the great thing about this is, as much as like for today, I'm sharing my screen, so I'm on my laptop. But for everyday purposes, when I'm out and about, I actually just use it on my phone.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah. So if you've never had any sort of practitioner training or any study, like how do everyday people use the scanner?
That's a good question, because as much as I'd received bioresonance as a client, as a patient as such, but I had never actually utilized the technology myself. I can't remember, was I I don't think I was even a practitioner back when I first found it. I had a love for natural health, and after having many, many experiences, sadly, with unwell family and friends, particularly my dad, who passed away now 11 years ago of terminal prostate cancer. By the time they found it in him, it was way too far gone. But I used to think, gosh, if there was only something that I could have done more, or if this had have been around back then that I had have known of, that would have been able to help him. So, being able to have something in the palm of your hand that you can scan someone any time of the day, no
Yeah.
matter where you are, is amazing.
Sorry. Just had to let someone in and
Giggling.
can't
Yeah.
do two things at once.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, one sec. Ah, okay. And also, can you please tell us some of the scanning capabilities?
Mm.
Yeah, for sure. So some of the technology of which we use behind the scanner is we use scalar waves, and we also use Rife frequencies. And we're able to determine not only what's physically going on in the body, but also emotionally going on in the body. So I love the fact that, as we know, as I was saying before, like when I first got on board with this, I wasn't a practitioner, I don't think, from memory, of any form at the time. And I've done my training since, not only in this, but in kinesiology
Mhm.
and other modalities. And yeah, just to be able to find what the root causes are, but starting with the emotions has been really, really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously you can, with that, you can scan for emotional imbalances and emotional blockages with the
Yeah.
scanner. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to show you? I can show you the inner voice scan.
Yes.
Actually,
Let's go through the inner voice.
everyone's going to get to know me really well today, because I decided I actually have a few things going on in my body at the moment. And I was like, when I was thinking about this call tonight, I was like, who can I scan? And I thought, I know.
Hey.
I know, me. So I do certain scans, which I'll talk to a little bit about later,
Okay.
on my body every single day. But I thought I'll do the full scans, because I actually need to. And as a practitioner, I suppose, or even when, as a mum, I think we're very good at focusing on everybody else and, trying to make sure that they're all good and what's going on with
Mm.
them. But we sort of fall by the wayside sometimes. So I definitely have some stuff going on at the minute. And I was like, I know, I can use myself as an example today. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to skip past this bit first and let's just scroll down into what's emotionally going on for me today so you'll know. So this is what they call the inner voice scan. So what it does is it actually picks up the octaves that are missing in the voice, and then that correlates through to what's going on emotionally in the body. It gives us two corrections. One correction is the octaves that are missing. It'll then give us the frequency played back to music, which we can pop our headphones in and listen to that beautiful music with the frequencies embedded into to balance those emotions out. But then it also gives us the color therapy aspect of that as well. So it gives us the top 4 emotions that are out in the body. So the first one for me has come up as conditional love versus unconditional love. So what that means is we have conditional love at one end of the scale, we have unconditional love at the other. It means that there's an imbalance in, between the two. So it generally will be more down that negative route. So
Yeah.
if I was to kind of look at these and say, are they all relevant to me? I can honestly say no. Are some of them relevant to me? For self-care, maybe lately, and boundaries while ironically looking for ways to serve others, guilty as charged. May blame self for others' unkind and unloving behaviors and actions. Yeah, look, there's definitely some truth in all of that, right? So when you read the, conditional love versus unconditional love, I kind of go, I don't really feel like that. But then when I read more into what those emotions mean, I go, probably. So on the left-hand side here, you can see the human body and you can start to see where it's affecting me. And what it's showing really here for me is the digestive,
Yeah.
which I've definitely, I've actually run out of one of my products at the moment. So I'm hanging for it to arrive because I know it really supports my digestive. So I ordered it a bit late, so I ran out. The color therapy aspect is, for us who are involved with the software, you have the option to be able to purchase the colored glasses. So those colored glasses are interchangeable lenses that you can actually wear to utilize the color therapy aspect. Now, I tend to say to people, if you don't have the glasses, you could either wear the color or even look at the color whilst you're listening to your balancing harmonics. Failing that, you don't have to do that, but it is just a recommendation. So if I start to look at here, the vitals, I've had a little bit of not heart stuff, but a little bit of blood pressure through stress over the last little while. And with one of our naturopathic doctors that is, within our organization, I was talking to her the other day, and coenzyme CoQ10 was something that came up for me that we're like, okay, yeah, I need to get onto that. So that's not surprising. You can then look at, different emotions, and some will be relevant and some not so much. Potential causes. It's really interesting. I mean, I don't drink alcohol, but it doesn't mean that it's alcohol consumption. It can be also gut fermentation, which again comes back to that for me. My gut health it's not, I'd say that my gut health's not great. I've actually worked really hard to be really good, but when I do stress, one of the first places does affect my belly. So Epstein-Barr, I think that for me is probably a little bit more related to what they spray in the skies and what we get to breathe in the air. But then there's some imbalances and suggestions. So ears, also chiropractic comes up there.
Does that say spinal flow?
It should do. Everything should say spinal flow. I must talk to Lauren about that. So you start here, it's kind of one of those things for me that I look for patterns, and I look for patterns through the whole scanner as well. It's not just this one section that I would identify something and mark that as concrete and say, okay, well, I must do all of these things, right? So it's really like if I look here, it says maintain proper hydration, get adequate sleep, has probably come up because for some reason I actually didn't particularly sleep sound. I actually had a bad dream last night. So I feel like, but you know what's funny about that is that sometimes I find it hard to get to sleep, but when I take our sleep spray, that's when I actually get into that deeper sleep, and I do tend to dream. Those dreams aren't always,
Yeah,
nasty ones, but just last night happened
they're
to.
intense.
Yeah, and so that's probably why it says quality sleep there.
Hmm.
Angry versus accepting of change. There's definitely a pattern for that going on in my world at the minute. And again, if you look at that gut brain connection, that makes 100% sense to me.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so, and look at the first emotion that comes up for me is grief, which I
Yeah.
100% am very deep in at the moment. Disappointment probably relates directly back to that anger versus that accepting of what's changed in my life, which again is around grief, and then nervous exhaustion because of the grief. So
Hmm.
that's fun.
And
Back,
that's what I like about this as well, is like it's come up with anger, but it's showing like grief, disappointment, nervous exhaustion, which people don't necessarily correlate to. If they're grieving, they don't necessarily, well, I'm sad, I'm not angry. They don't understand the connection there. So I really like how it puts things together and makes you just really look at it. That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, what's really interesting over here on the vitals as well is like B1, as an example, I have the
Mm.
MTHFR gene mutation, which 70–80% of the population have. And with that gene mutation, one of the things that comes up is the lack of ability to be able to methylate and absorb vitamin Bs. Now, it's not surprising to me that that comes up because we also have the ability in the scanner to be able to put our supplements in there so that when we scan ourselves daily, it will actually tell us what supplements we need and when. And funnily enough, my prime methylated, which is my methylated vitamin Bs, came up for me today. So I know that my body
Okay.
is kind of needing those at the moment. Um, Here, where we've got like potential causes with bacterias, you look at something like tuberculosis. Now, does that mean I have tuberculosis? Well, no, obviously not. However, what can it mean? So, when something comes up on your scan, it can mean that you've come in contact with someone with,
Mm.
like, let's say it said COVID. And you go, well, I don't have COVID, but you could have very easily walked past somebody with the virus, and your body has taken on the attachment of some of that frequency. It can be obviously that you do have it, but it can also be ancestral. So it
Mm.
can be what we call a miasm. And quite often, when that comes up for a client, I will actually say, do you know if any of your ancestors actually passed of
Mm.
this or had this? And either they don't know, or the answer is 100% yes. But
Well,
we,
interesting on the Solex call. Remember, we talked about this, and I mentioned this
yeah.
only because I know that you have a bit of an aversion to dairy.
Mhm.
And so, well, the Solex, one of a doctor on the Solex call, I forgot her name, apologies, but she was saying that tuberculosis can pop up as a miasm because back in the day they used to like milk the cows, and the bacteria from the teat would go into the milk. The tuberculosis would go into the milk, and so people would drink it and get sick, and then so it actually shows up as tuberculosis, but it's a dairy
Right.
intolerance. And I just find that
Absolutely.
so fantastically fascinating.
It is phenomenal. So
Mm.
it goes to show you how, and you can look at these scans and go, well, gosh, how do I know all of that? Honestly, it is you learn over time, and exactly what you just said there. Like Solex have a call every, Wednesday night in the US, Thursday here in
Mhm.
Australia, and it's half an hour of education. And so whether people are involved with Solex to help themselves, help their families, help clients, whatever the case may be, there's always so much information you can learn on there. So
Mm.
we don't need to go through the rest of mine as such, of this particular scan, but it's just interesting. I just wanted
Yeah.
to show you because you were asking about the emotional aspect. But here we actually then have the ability to be able to listen to, and this is where I can send this to clients, or I can, if it's obviously their scan. For me, I play it for myself, where I
Mhm.
turn that music bar up and the frequency down. I can scroll down here a little bit, and I can, as a kinesiologist, I can muscle test this. And if you've learnt muscle testing, we've actually trained in our collaborative specifically on muscle testing before. You can muscle test this, or you can just listen to the ones, or pick the one that looks, that kind of stands out to you.
Yeah.
Ambient Zen meditation, always my number one. Love that so much. My other one that I absolutely love is Calm Space because it sounds like one of the rides at Disneyland. So that's the other one. So you're listening to the music, but it's the frequencies that are actually embedding into the brain to shift what's going on emotionally for you. So imagine if you started your day every day like that. I can
Mm.
certainly feel the difference for me when I don't do it.
Mm.
But it is my 100% go-to every single day.
Amazing. So if
Yeah.
someone has like a specific issue that they want to gain some clarity on, what scan would you use for that?
Look, I would probably go to Vitals.
Okay.
Let's go and have a look at that real quick. Again, I won't go through all of it, in the sense that it's a lot of these scans are very extensive. And again, you kind of just learn as you go. The great
Mm.
thing with Solex is that you do get the basic training for free anyway. If you want
Yeah.
to do more training and more in depth, you absolutely have the ability to do that. They even do like there's a brilliant course. I haven't done it yet, but I hear that it's amazing, specifically on homeopathy. You know, that's an option too. But you know, just kind of learn as you go. But I just show you this here real quick because what we do first is we scan the body to see what's going on in the body without shifting anything. And then when it says optimize frequencies, what we're trying to do then is bring those frequencies of whatever it is that we're scanning back into homeostasis. So my focus is only ever on what I can't realign.
Yeah.
The other thing is too, you can see here, if I scroll down all the different things that we can scan, if, for example, I just wanted to see what my food sensitivities were, I can
Hmm.
deselect everything, just select that one thing, scan it, wait for it to finish, optimize, wait for it to finish, and then have a look. But it runs on a scale from 1 to 9. So 1 being down that sort of diminished, sluggish kind of end,
Hmm.
9 being up on that overactive, hyper inflammatory end.
Yeah.
And that real medium of what we're looking for ideally is a 4, 5, and a 6. And if all that's too confusing, you can click over to the classic view and look at it in
Yeah.
red and green. Super, super easy. For the purpose of this explanation, because this is particularly what I work with, I'm going to show it to you in the 1 to 9. And as I said to you before, as an example, you know, this previous scan is the first scan. So this is
Hmm.
what scans the body. It's not changing anything. It's just simply showing you whether the frequency is in range or out of range. So if we look at dairy as an example, and we look at butter, well, you would have seen that butter without us changing anything was actually a 2 and it was out of range. It would have meant that had I have consumed butter, that wouldn't have been
Mm.
very good for my belly that, you know, when I scanned it. And I did only scan it this afternoon. But then when I hit that optimization to work to bring that frequency back into homeostasis, you can now see it's in range.
Yeah.
So what am I looking for here? I'm simply looking on the left side of the scan specifically
Mm.
for what's out of homeostasis. So, and you can see a lot of these tend to be a little bit more on the dairy kind of as well, which I do try to avoid for the most part. Um, but again, you think about whether you look at this whether you look at the report or not. If you
Yeah.
look on the right hand side, how many foods were out of alignment for me that had I have consumed them would have actually had a negative effect on my belly,
Yeah.
but you know, then being able to scan them back into homeostasis means that I don't even necessarily really need to look at it. It just means that, like,
Hmm.
if I was to go and have a bolognese, I remember we went to a really good bolognese place once and I wore a white shirt. Not a good idea. And it was an 8 here. Like, if I had not have scanned myself and I had a bolognese that had a tomato sauce in it, my digestive would not be happy about that. Whereas if I can scan myself and bring it back into homeostasis, then my body
Mm.
is good with it, you know?
That's right. That's right.
So let's just have a real quick look at the types of things. Interesting beef is one of them. I attempted to slow cook a brisket yesterday, so it's supposed to be really super tender and all of the things. Well, I also tried to have it for lunch today and it was a little similar to cardboard. But so I think that's what the dogs will be getting for dinner tonight. which is
Oh,
absolutely,
wonderful.
I know, so they'll enjoy it at least. But for me, it's of no surprise that beef is at 8, so it's still
Hmm.
out of range. So it's telling me, my gut is already struggling to process that, obviously. Like,
Hmm.
just please don't go and have any more. So I won't.
So you did. Oh, you won't. Good.
I won't. I definitely won't. But you look at over here on the right hand side, all of these that were out around, seafood. Now, this can mean a couple of things. And look, it doesn't particularly matter now that most of them are brought back into alignment. But
Hmm.
if a lot of them were still out here on the left hand side and that a lot of them were fish, I would then go and have a look at my omegas, because the chances are, if the
Mm.
frequency is out, my body could actually need more. So
Yeah.
that's where in that particular section, I would actually go looking at my omegas to see if they were out of alignment and couldn't be
Hmm.
realigned. I'm not going to lie, look at pistachio, seriously.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yesterday, you know, you gotta try all the trendy stuff sometimes, and I am obsessed with pistachio at the best of times. I love them. And then when somebody talked about Dubai chocolate, I went on a little bit of a visit yesterday to go and try and find some, and we did. And so yeah, pistachios. I'd obviously just had too much of it, so it
It's
doesn't
like,
make.
woman, please.
Please don't eat any more pistachio. Hey, but it's good stuff. So the thing about it is, though, like, it could be, it's not even that you're necessarily allergic or intolerant, but it's just your body saying, you can't have too much more of that, right?
Mm.
So, yeah, it's just really interesting. So,
What if someone like,
yeah.
so this is like obviously like internally looking at all your systems. What about if someone like say pulled a muscle or like they're like, I think I might have done something and they just want to have a look
Yeah, so that
physically?
would be our comprehensive scan.
Okay.
Let me just see if I've got any questions in here that I need to.
Yes. There's a couple in the chat.
Okay, that one we might get to at the end. So how you do the inner voice scan is you actually record 10 to 15 seconds. It's always good to start with the words I am, and then your name. I've actually mastered the exact 10 seconds of my I am, my full name, my date of birth, and my address. And that's all I say every single morning. And look, if you're utilizing the technology, I would actually do that on an easy scan every morning, which I'll show you in a
Yeah.
moment what that is. I think
Okay.
that it's really important to do that every single day. Stacey is asking, as I turning the frequency all the way up, should it be down? Listen, if you are a little odd like Katie and you like the sound of frequency, you
That's
turn it
good.
as far up as you like. I, on the other hand, absolutely can't stand it. So as much as it's not to be turned off, I just turn it as far down as I
Down, yeah.
possibly can. Yeah. Um, uh, if you had a scan done a couple of years ago, it definitely would not be relevant now. The
No.
reason being is that your body, from a frequency perspective, changes every single second. So even when you're doing, you could be doing a scan tonight of inner voice. If you've got the technology, do it tomorrow, because
Mhm.
your emotions change from 1 minute to the next.
Mhm.
Same with, when you're consuming foods, and that's where the easy scan, which I'll show you, which is kind of like the shorter version of all of these big scans, are really good. Let me just finish on this real quick, because it's funny that corn comes up for a lot of people, and that's because most corn is genetically modified and it's
Mhm.
very difficult to digest. But I just want to just scroll down through some of these to show you some of the things that funny, my fatty acids are out because I have actually run out of my omegas, but they are on their way. Make sure when you're taking an omega that you're taking an omega that is been tested specifically for heavy metals. Do
Mm.
not just buy one from a chemist or a supermarket. Solex have an amazing omega. It is not expensive at all. That is the one that I highly recommend. We also do your chakras. So you can see here that most of my chakras, ironically, were imbalance. So go me. But why over here, when I first scan the throat chakra, is it okay? And then all of a sudden
Mm.
it's bumped out of whack. Well, there's two explanations for that. One is it could just read in that first scan, it could read the throat chakra as it being in alignment, but then it goes to balance it and it's actually not. So it will actually mark exactly as it is. Or it could be that the sacral chakra is the priority and it is actually borrowing energy
Yeah.
from another chakra to specifically balance that out, which is it could knock that one out of whack and bring this one back into homeostasis.
Yeah.
But if we look at throat chakra down here, let's look at some of, so thyroid problems. Well, yes, I had nodules on my thyroid quite some time ago. I'm supposed to go get that checked again soon. My voice, funnily enough, I know this is going to be a shock to most of you when I talk too much. My voice does go, I know it's happened once, maybe twice in my whole life. My voice does go funny. You're 85,000 times, something like that. So that's the chakras, meridians. Again, all that I'm looking for is anything that can't be brought back into balance. Now,
Yeah.
that's the second time I've seen my bladder today on a scan. So the first time was in the inner voice. Now I'm seeing it here. I'm going,
Mm.
okay, came up hydration as well. And I have been drinking heaps of water today, but I may have had a couple more coffees than I normally do. So I'm not going to lie there. That's definitely a realization for me. But again, it gives you the explanations, not only with the physical, but also the emotional as well.
Mhm.
I want to just scroll down and see if there's anything else that comes up for me that, is, see, pancreas is really interesting because I was talking to some of the team on a call earlier about my blood pressure, and one of our naturopaths has realized that it's most likely my blood glucose. So it's
Mm.
not surprising to me that my pancreas is still kind of catching up with the what's going on. Most of my digestive enzymes are perfect because I do take digestive enzymes before every meal. Sodium, I just put a heck of a lot of Celtic salt in my soup for dinner. To the point I said to Katie, it probably tastes a little too much like the ocean. So again, I'm not surprised at that. B12, again, I have MTHFR, so I cannot take just any vitamin B supplement. It has to be methylated. And for those of you who have ever been diagnosed with, oh, your vitamin B levels are out, or, you may suffer from some mental health stuff, anxiety, depression,
And iron.
iron, yes,
Hmm.
fertility issues, anything like that. Uh, and your GP most likely won't know a lot about MTHFR, but have them test for it because it's really important you know these things. Okay, so now we're looking at some bone growth and cartilage healing. I do have a couple of injuries at the moment. Uh, Funnily enough, I'm still going to the gym and I'm still trying to do all of the things. A few cranial nerves out at the minute. Actually, that's probably explains my headache that I had before.
Mm.
My blood pressure has been a little bit crazy, so we're working to get that under control. So a little bit of heart stuff. Adrenals, again, here we go. And now you're starting to see like how this comes together as a, angry versus accepting of change, grief, and all of those things that have caused me a lot of stress. It's my adrenals, it's
Mm.
my thyroid, like you can really start to see a picture of what's going
Yeah,
on in my body, right?
that's right.
Um, So this is where, and keeping in mind, this is not a diagnostic tool, but it
No.
is an education tool for us to be able to see this. One of the other things with MTHFR that I just really want to mention is that it also makes your detox genes really quite sluggish. So particularly your liver. So
Mm.
I'm not surprised at all that I have some detoxification in it, like detoxification phase 2 in methylation
Mm.
specifically is out. And that makes sense to me because, again, I have the gene mutation, right? So,
And even just looking at that though as well, like relates to the liver, relates to anger, relates to like it all just it does such puts together such a beautiful picture.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, Jared's just asked, is it a like a monthly? Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'll explain why that is in a little bit because there's a really good reason as to why they do it monthly. The machines themselves that aren't as technically sort of advanced as what this is, people are paying up to 38,000 USD for those machines. So we don't want to be paying that sort of money. It is just a small monthly fee that does give you unlimited scanning capabilities, unlimited profiles. So you can add as many people in here as you want. I actually, I know this sounds really silly, but I could actually feel in exactly at ovulation process, and I just scan myself just to always make sure, like, let's see if this scanner's really doing its job, you know? And sure enough, it shows up every single time. It has never ever failed me. Thyroid, we know. We've seen that before. Yeah, yeah, I'll go get that scan one day. And then we start to see bacterial stuff. Funnily enough, E. coli, both my
Beef.
daughter and both, huh?
Is it the beef? No.
Oh, well, but possibly. Um, who knows really? No, but Saturday night we went to an event and both my daughter was actually physically unwell when we got home. And for me, I just felt really unwell in my belly, and I actually had a feeling it could have been something in the food. So I
Mm.
tell you what, though, for my daughter, she's 11, it's midnight, you know, and she's got this, you know, vomiting and all the things going on. What do you do with that? Like, you have to have a toolkit of some description, whether it be homeopathy or whatever the case may be, but you also need to know what it is.
Mm.
So I scan her. I can see exactly what's going on. I know what frequencies to imprint into water. So we also have homeopathics we can imprint into water. But I ran, and I'll show you that in a minute as well. I actually ran frequency for her all night, all around her digestion. And when she woke up in the morning, she had full color back in her face and she was brand new. So
Good.
perfect. You can even see heavy metals. Heavy metals is, you know, really important to be able to identify. And mold. Mold can be really,
Mm.
really dangerous. So interesting, black mold comes up for me. I'm trying to think where I went today. Anyway, it's usually somewhere that you've been that you will have actually taken on that frequency. And we actually have mold detox. So even though it's only like one, but it is black, any mold is bad, but black mold, I will actually go and do a detox on mold specifically for myself. So when we look at the fact that we pay for this monthly, you know, what would you do with that information? Well, one, you wouldn't have the information. So but two, even if you did, then what do you do? Like, you know, how do you go and do a mold detox without it costing hundreds and hundreds of dollars? You know, what do I give my daughter when she's vomiting and, you know, homeopathics again, like hundreds and hundreds of dollars that I can actually just do from the palm of my hand with ease.
Mm.
So it's perfect. Parasitic activity, could always see what parasites are going on. My parasitic activity is actually quite good at the minute. There's not a lot going on parasitic wise for me. But again, we've got good tools for that. And then we look at viruses. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping around the place here. With viruses, there's really no, I mean, you look at on the right hand side how much virus I've come in contact with. But
Mm.
I've been able to clear most of them, which is really great. You can also see on here, you'll see spike proteins. You'll actually see all of the different variants of the COVID virus and
Mm.
the COVID vaccines. So this,
They've been popping up a lot lately in this area just because everyone's been sick and everyone's getting their shots and
yeah.
influenza A and the one of the COVID ones, the ones that they boost for, been popping up a lot.
And so if you're not about that, how do you protect your body on a daily basis? And how do you protect the body of your families? You know, I love all the right fighters who are out there going, you know, don't do it and all of the things. And that, you know, each their own, 100% get you and agree. But what are you doing for you and your
Mm.
family and the people who did do it? you know, what are you doing to help those people? Because that's my focus. You know,
Yeah.
it's one thing to see it, but it's another thing to actually be able to bring those frequencies back into balance so your body is not suffering. Um, you know, I look at this one here, Katie, about chicken pox. That
Mm.
came up for you know, the story. I was in Bali in January. My mum ends up back in hospital. She had a lot of vaccine injury, unfortunately, from the COVID jabs. And I was just thinking about, can I say that? Well, a couple of years ago I couldn't, but it's kind of coming out now, right? So it just is what it is. And she's back in hospital again, and they're doing all the tests under the sun, and she's really sick, and they don't know what it is. And so I scan her, and this come up, chicken pox, and it was over here in red on the left-hand side. And I
Mhm.
said, Mum, you need to get them to check for shingles. I ring her back the next day. There's check for shingles. No. Why? Oh, because I don't have any other marks. You know, they don't have anything to swab. I said, okay. So I hang the phone up. I'm in Bali. I find the phone number of the hospital and I ring the head nurse that's in her ward. And I say, did my mum ask for a swab for shingles? Yes. And I said, and she told me why it wasn't done. I said, I want you to swab her mouth. I said, if you've got nowhere else to swab, swab her mouth. I rang back the next day. Mum goes, you're not going to believe this. And I said, oh, what's that? She goes, I've got shingles. I'm like, there you go.
I
My
do believe it, Mum.
Yep. My point being, though, I had another friend this happened to actually after that. It was actually, actually, funnily enough, it was back when I was in Bali in May. And her back was, she was in absolute pain. She went to the hospital in an ambulance. And I said, do you want me to scan you? Yep. I couldn't honestly see much going on with her back. And I'm going to get into that scan in a minute because I've got some stuff in my shoulder and whatever going on physically. So I want to be able to have a look at that. Anyway, I had a look at her back and I could honestly not see much going on there. And then again, same thing. I got to here and I said to her, I actually think you've got shingles because her nerve pain was that bad. And I said to her, get them to test for it. Anyway, I was away. I was away on a retreat and I check in with her daily, see how she's feeling and all of the things. And a week later, you know, she'd obviously been home and on painkillers. They still really didn't know what was wrong with her. And a week later, she's back in an ambulance, back to the hospital. And she messages me and she goes, you're not going to believe this. Same thing. I've got shingles. And I'm like, had they have actually done the test, diagnosed it a week before, imagine how much pain she would not have necessarily had to have gone through.
Mhm.
It's actually quite frustrating. All right. I hope you're all having a great time getting to know me better. Let's see. Oh, hang on. That's not where I was going. That's not where I was going. Let me just scroll over as we go. Oh my gosh, seriously. User error. See?
Please hold.
One moment, please. This could take a while. I don't know what it is with these buttons with me. When I do it on my phone, because I can just swipe it, but on here you can't just swipe it. So here we go. Now we got it. Now we got it. All right. So when you're talking about what's physically going on the body, Katie, I think, you know, we're talking about things like musculoskeletal, right?
Yeah.
So bones, ligaments, tendons, veins,
Oh, we
arteries.
are in for a treat here. Here we go.
Oh, yeah, you are. So this is, you can look at it a couple of ways. There's a table report and an image report. We're actually currently on the image report, but I'm going to click it over because then it kind of looks like the same as the one before that you saw with the vitals. And I do this because, this is a very big report. So excuse me while I kind of scroll quite quickly, as I am actually looking for something specific. Now, I did this for a reason, and I'll tell you why is because I begrudge having to pay for scans out there in the world. And these are actually more effective than a CT or an MRI or any of the things. I'm going to go straight past all the chromosomes because we're
While
not
you're
going to go.
scrolling, what's the difference between an AO scan, a bioresonance scan, and a blood test? What's the difference between the accuracy?
A blood test accuracy on a blood test is approximately 55%, and a AO scan from a frequency perspective is approximately 75%. So your
Nice.
chances of accuracy with these scans are more than actually physically going and taking blood or going and actually having a X-ray or whatever the case may be. So, and it's funny, talk about blood tests. I went and got a blood test the other week, and I had another blood, uh, piece of paper thingy, whatever it's called, referral, from another doctor, because we collect them sometimes and don't go and do as we're told. And I thought, oh, I'll just get it done at the same time. So I did. I handed the lady the two forms for exactly the same tests because I was just actually quite curious. They probably had one of them may have had a couple of other little things in it that they, I don't know, might have checked. I'm not sure. Anyway, long story short, the results of those tests were both completely different. Completely different. Now, the reason I'm telling you I wanted to do this on myself today is because I have a pretty bad shoulder, let's just say. And it's been there for a while, and I'm doing all the things to work to get it better. But as much as I hate paying to go and get the actual ultrasound, I am going to do it tomorrow. So I thought, let me just scan myself again. And you can see here what I'm looking for is not so much what was a 1 and then is corrected to, a 3, but look at this here as a 9,
Mm.
and this is a ligament. So I promise you, well, I don't know when I'll get the results. Maybe not tomorrow. Sometimes I can convince them to tell
We
me
want you to go live as you check in
as I'm getting a scan, right?
for
Well, you know I
accountability.
would. And my chances of getting it out of them as to what's wrong with me is pretty high, let's be
You
honest.
look good here with dark hair.
Ah, look at me go. And so if we look at,
Ouch.
oh, do you know what? Do you know one thing I'll tell you for real right now is that people, you talk about your shoulder and what do people say? Oh, it's your bursa. I'm like, it's not my bursa. I'm telling you why,
Mm.
because it's not in that joint. Like I
Hmm.
know it's not in there. It's exactly in there. It's showing
Mm.
you exactly where it is, right? That
Amazing.
if anybody ever says to me, where's the pain? That is the exact point that I point to. So you can all remember that, and I'm going to take a photo of it because I probably won't get the time to do it before tomorrow.
And this sort of thing is super, super helpful when you're going to see a practitioner or like an acupuncturist or anyone that's trying to help you, like an osteo.
Thyroid, osteo,
Oh,
absolutely.
I took this scan before I had it. You scanned this for my son, and
Yep,
he had a tendon in his knee that was flaring up in the scan. And all right, and I took it to our osteo, and he goes, "Oh, okay, we're looking at the knee again." I said, "This tendon's flared up, or whatever it was, ligament, whatever." And he
yep,
goes, "Oh, okay, perfect," and went straight to it. It
yep,
saved him so much time. Of, how does this feel? Like, well, like he's fantastic, but he was like, "Great,"
yep.
just saved so much time. Like,
I remember
amazing.
going to the osteopath once, and I don't very well, I've never actually had an issue with my calf muscle. And I thought it really weird. So I told her, and she said, yeah, yeah, have a look at it, and played around and did all the things. And it felt better marginally until a day later when it was just bad again. So before I went the next time, I actually scanned that area, and it wasn't that nothing came up in the calf, but something
Mm,
came up in the knee and something
mm,
came up in the foot. And so I showed her, I said, look, this is where it's shown up. And she goes, oh my gosh, that makes so much more sense. No word of a lie. She did whatever she does as an osteopath to it, and never, ever, ever did it come back again.
amazing.
So it just, and I think many people have probably heard the story about my daughter breaking her elbow on the trampoline. And, I scanned her before I took her to the hospital, and we get to the ED and they do the x-ray, and they say to me, oh, it's not broken. It's just probably a bad sprain, but the doctor will come out and talk to you soon. And I say, yeah, okay. And I say, well, it's because she had pain referring into her wrist. And I said, did you scan the elbow? They said,
Mm.
no, we didn't scan the elbow. And I said, I want you to scan the elbow, please. And they say, well, the problem is, she's a child and we don't like to radiate children. Well, the great thing is I've got radiation detox so I can actually remove radiation anyway. So I'm actually running radiation detox as she's getting an x-ray. Like, how's that for just even be able, if it couldn't do anything else and that was all that it could do, it'd be worth it.
Right.
Sure enough, the woman comes out and says, and
Mm.
she looks at me like, how did you know that? That's even more fun than anything else. And sure enough, it was broken. Now, if I
Yeah.
was any other mum, I would have left the hospital that night just going, okay, cool, it's not broken, right? But it
And then
was.
dealt with it days later, it would have been worse.
It would have been worse and
Hmm.
may have needed surgery and all of the things. So you think about, and just talking about the monthly fee, it's like $7 or $8 a day. It's like 149 US a month for unlimited scanning capabilities, for all of the system updates, and they continue to add things to the scanner as well. Like we've got
Oh,
essential oils, and you see this
flower
here where it
essences.
says 62. Like you're looking at my liver. We saw it in the other scan where my liver was sluggish. And
Mm.
so, what I look for in this scan is anything up over that 60 mark. Thankfully, it came down to about 47. But again, how would I have known any of this if I didn't utilize this technology? What would I have to wait to happen before I realize that, hey, my liver might need some support? So, some milk thistle extract, or, that's why sleep is a really, really good
Mm.
product, because sleep has the milk thistle extract. I used to get up like without fail at 3, 4 a.m. every single morning to go to the
Yeah,
bathroom. Every time I take sleep, I sleep the whole way through because my liver is not being aggravated.
that's awesome.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
So, anyway, I feel like you've all got to know my physical body enough. But yeah, that just particularly something that I actually really love down here. I'm just going to show you real quick if I can get to it. Without going past it, is I really love, because a lot of people tend to have back pain,
Mm.
but it shows all of the vertebrae, it shows, all of the discs, it shows ribs, it shows all of the things so that you can actually, if you've got back pain, sometimes it's not necessarily your back, like it could be a rib.
Mm.
My chiropractor, honestly, like how I didn't even think to look at a rib being out on the scan when I had a particular pain ages ago, that she literally cracked into place and we all lived happily ever after. But it's just taking the time for yourself, and I'm only speaking to me now, taking the time to actually look at these things and go, hey, what's actually out and how can we actually bring it back into homeostasis?
Mm.
I've been in 2 car accidents in the last 5 years, both horrendous whiplash, and the last one actually gave me 3 bulging discs in my neck.
Lucky.
Yeah, it was so good. So it's of no surprise to me that, one of my neck actual vertebrae are out. So yeah, so that
Judith
just,
just asked which scan is this, which particular scan is this?
this is the comprehensive. Yeah.
Mm.
So
It's the
this is
big
the
body.
comprehensive scan. It is a big scan, but don't go and read through every single little bit of it. Honestly, look for what is overactive over here. What
Mm.
percentage from ideal? Over 60%. A few years ago, I did a scan for my nephew, and his heart scan on here was over 70%. And he was 16 at the time. He had
Mhm.
just participated in a medical experiment, which is why I was scanning him. But it wasn't just this scan. I also did the vitals and all the others. I said to my sister, give me a couple of weeks to work to bring these frequencies back into homeostasis. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. And I worked on him solidly for 2 weeks. And thank God, literally, that when I scanned all of these scans again, it had come down, because I said to my sister, I don't mean to scare you, but if
Mm.
that's still that high in a couple of weeks, you need to take him to a cardiologist.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I was actually able to help him. So yeah, that's the comprehensive scan.
Is there anything else, or anything in particular that you feel like you would like to share? Any other
Yeah,
little
let
tidbits
me
or routines or?
Well, my routine of every day is my easy scan. So Natasha was asking before, like, how do I do my inner voice? Well, I do it with my easy scan every day. So I just click here and wait till it counts down, and then I do my 10-second voice recording. It'll do my inner voice. It'll do the vitals that I've shown you tonight. It'll do the comprehensive, and then it will give. So I did mine this morning, so I'll show you the report. What it's going to show you is just a snapshot of what was out of range that couldn't be brought back into homeostasis, just in case you want to focus on those things, such as your food sensitivities. Interesting, peanuts has come up for me a couple of times. And do you know what's funny about that? Is that when we talk about peanuts, a lot of time when we talk about peanuts, we relate it to mold, and mold showed up for me
Mm.
today. So that's interesting. It'll show you your chakras. It will show you um, your meridians, and it will just show you, I'll just do a sort of a snapshot through. It'll just show you the things that were out of alignment that couldn't be brought back into balance. So it's not going to show you those big, long-winded scans that I
Yeah.
was showing you before,
What
because
was at the top? Sorry, the very, very top.
at the very top is the
No,
is to be
sorry.
able to listen to your inner
And bit
voice.
down, bit down.
Oh,
There we
yeah.
go. The supplements.
Yeah, so that's the other thing too. So, but it's just really showing you what's in and like what's out of range that can't be brought back into homeostasis in case you want to focus on that. But I was talking about the inner voice scan before about the color therapy. It's showing you your two main colors here. That again, you can wear the glasses of, or just simply, um, look at the color. Green's always an easy one because you can just look at the tree outside. Then here, this is what I love about the Easy Scan is a very simple way to be able to add your supplementation and the not only the homeopathy but also the detox
Yeah.
frequencies as well. So you can see here, look at that, insomnia detox and sleep ease detox, sleep ease. So it goes to show you, you could really tell that I did not have the best sleep last night. And so the other thing is too, when it comes to, and it doesn't really show a lot of homeopathy for me over this, like since yesterday. But one thing I love that I've learned is that if I get quite, I love homeopathy, I just don't know a lot about it. I don't really know what's what or for what. I could just actually copy this and I'll put it into ChatGPT and say, if I was running a bioresonance scan and all of these came up for me, what would you suggest is going on in my body? Now, it's not always going to be 100% accurate, but it will give you a really good idea. Remember, it's not there to design to, diagnose anything, but it's just going to give you a good idea as to what's actually going on. But so Easy Scan I do every single day without fail.
So
Um,
while you're just there, Judith has just asked where you find the comprehensive scan on its own. So can I just get you to scroll down a little bit and then
yeah.
just, yep.
So I just scrolled across before. So under customized body scans, you just scroll across from vitals. You can do your full body systems as well, where you're going to do your full hormone profile. You can do all your bloods, blood chemistry and everything as well. And here is your comprehensive. So you can just click there. Now, keep in mind
And
too
Bryony
that,
asked, sorry, yeah, so go.
no, I was just going to say you can also go here and deselect all. So if I just wanted to do my shoulder, I could actually go, left. So arms, I could go, so lymphatics, I could go left, left arm, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera, and just scan very specific things. I don't actually have to go and scan everything. So scan and then optimize.
Bryony asked, do you use Hello AO?
I do use Hello AO just for fun, really. I don't use it all the time. More from I forget. And because it is only new. So Hello AO is kind of a little bit like Siri. So it's just like in the middle of the day, if I just click this now and I say, hello AO, it's Beck McQuilty here. It's just going to do a really quick analysis for me. and it's going to show me what's going on in my body and what so there's the colors. Here's the frequencies of what I usually just grab a small glass of water, and here is a bunch of frequencies that I need. But then I've also got, again, certain products that are in my scanner that I've actually imprinted into the scanner, that it's scanning my body and it's telling me exactly what my body needs right now. So when you think about how much that saves you on
Mm.
supplements, because when you buy a supplement, you just take it every day, no matter what.
Mm.
And you really don't need to be doing that. You need to be taking those supplements when your body tells you that you need them. But I think, Katie, one of the things that I love too is that if you've got something specific going on in the body, this is what we call Cephi.
Mm.
You actually have the ability to be able to create, we have thousands and thousands of individual frequencies within. Imagine it like a library. That's the easiest way that I can
Mm.
explain it. And you are able to go into all different frequencies, whether it be bush essences, all the chakras, all of your homeopathics. You can go into the frequencies of essential oils, all of your minerals, and they add to this all of the time. Now, I was saying to you guys before, I don't know a lot about homeopathy, except for the fact I know that it works and I love it. So I can click in here and then you can actually search by symptom. So you don't need to know everything about everything. You just don't. So if I've got some high blood pressure going on due to stress, so I go to by symptom, I'd type in hypertension, and it's not only going to tell me what all of the frequencies are, the homeopathics are for hypertension. I can actually scan my body in real time and it's going to give me the priority. Now, I can
Mm.
either I can either sit a glass of water on here and imprint the frequencies of those homeopathics, or I can actually broadcast these frequencies to me. The great thing, Katie, about the frequencies too is that because we use scalar waves travel faster than the speed of light. And that's
Mm.
how we can actually send frequencies remotely anywhere on the planet. So you don't have to be in
Amazing.
the same room. So when I was in Bali in January and May, sending frequencies to my friend and my mum, I can do that being in Bali, sending a frequency or actually even scanning them to get a really accurate idea of what's going on for them.
Oh wow,
Pretty
that's
cool, huh?
awesome. Because yeah, it's hard for people to comprehend how it actually works. Even though we can understand that a telephone or like a mobile phone works in a
Yeah.
similar fashion, when we can't see something, sometimes it's hard for us to comprehend it.
And I think this is the biggest thing. Like, if you think about EMFs are everywhere.
Mm.
If you could see them, you'd be petrified. You would be doing everything that you could to protect your body against EMFs.
Absolutely.
We can do that at the press of a button. I can
Mm.
clear energy, I can shield energy, I can put frequencies into objects. So I can put it EMF protection into a necklace and wear that. I can, like when I don't know, I guess it was 2020 when people were rallying in Canberra at Parliament House. I was sending them frequencies,
Mm.
to help to protect them.
Yeah.
But some people may not want to necessarily have specific, playlists or anything like that of the frequencies. You can have up to 15 frequencies per playlist. But, you can look through here as well, where we've got playlists that are already curated for you. So there's one here, Find Peace with Sephi. I ran that for my husband when he was in a competition recently. And it actually worked really, really well for him to help his nerves. But one of the lists I love here is pick your own from our own curated list. So you've already got
Oh.
ones here that find peace, allergies, sleep. energy, and weight loss. This weight loss playlist that's already done, like it's done for you. I've actually
Yeah.
heard of people actually just literally dropping weight by running the frequency to themselves. So
I feel skinnier already.
I know, right? It's super powerful.
Um, so Bryony asked a question. Natasha did mention that her screen's different, so she's obviously got the old
Oh,
version.
she's on the old
Yeah, if you
one.
could maybe quickly show us how to change from the old version to the new version, please.
I can definitely give that a go. Let's have a look if I remember how to go back. How to go back. How to go back. Theme. Here we go. One moment, please. It's like magic. You ready? There you go. So this is what Natasha would be seeing. And this is what we've had for 3 years. So when you sign on, that's what it looks like. And then that had a bit of a facelift only a few months ago.
Yeah, so recently.
Yeah, so if you click on those three lines over here on the right-hand side and go over to theme, there's all different ones, by the way, but and there's even the light. I'll change it to the light so you can see it's got a white background. So, but for me personally, I just actually like the black background. So you just click on the theme of whichever one you're wanting and just press apply. So it's just those three lines. So the three lines are here on when it looks like this. And the three lines are on the right-hand side from the other one of what Natasha would be seeing. So just those three lines there.
Awesome. She says she's got it.
Yay! I like it like this. I think it looks cool.
Yeah, same. I love it. I
Yeah.
said the first 24 hours I was like, "Ah, I hate it, but now I love it. I think it's so good. Bryony asked, what's your daily routine for your family?
Great question. My daily routine for my family is easy scan every morning. Usually I have to chase half of them around the house for that. So I'm not going to say that happens all the time, but it definitely happens for me. And then of a nighttime, what I will sometimes do is we also have the ability to run frequencies for a group of people at once. So you're not having to do like I don't have to run my frequency, then Ryan's frequency, then my daughter's frequency, and then my mum's frequency. I
Mm,
can actually do them all at once, and that's what we
mm,
call multicast. So that is something that we can teach how to do as well. So multicast, and the other one is multi-scan. So multi-scan has the ability to actually scan everybody in real time. So it just depends on the day for us. At least I do an easy scan, but if I can before I go to bed, I mean, I'm always running frequency for one or a number of us.
yeah.
It really just depends. So, and it also depends on what they need too. Like,
Yeah.
I had to run frequency for Addison in the middle of the night the other night because her belly was just kind of not coping.
Yeah.
There's also, I just want to show you real quick here, which is called Mind Sync. This is something that I feel like is not focused on enough. Mind Sync is really, really powerful. It's actually you being able to record your affirmations in your own voice,
Mm,
backing it to music, emailing it to yourself, and then you being able to listen to it daily. I am about to start a 21-day self-esteem challenge. So, for those of you with the technology, if you would love to join us, please just shoot me a message or pop it in the chat at the Frequency Soul Collective. And if you're not in the collective, just reach out to the person who may have invited you. I'm sure they'll be able to help you. This is actually something that I saw a really big need for. And it's just something I have channeled all of the affirmations. And I'm just doing this for 21 days just to help people with that shift. It's one thing to read an affirmation, it's a whole nother story to hear those affirmations in your own voice back to you. It completely passes the conscious, barrier in the brain and really gets into that super conscious. So it's really good.
mm. Does anyone else have any questions they want to pop in the chat, or if you would prefer to ask them, you can unmute yourself.
And we are almost done on time, so we only just
Yep.
have a few minutes left. But
Well,
we've
thank
got
you
through
so
some,
much for
yeah,
that.
my pleasure. It's been so good. Thank you guys for jumping on and asking questions because I love it's when you use this technology every day, and I only know what I know from listening to the calls and using it myself. And if someone says to me, "Hey, I've got a pain here," or a whatever there, it's actually just honestly for me utilizing it. So there's nothing, believe me, special about my abilities with utilizing this technology. I'm actually not very good with technology. I'm not going to lie. I once bought a kettle and it took me a week to figure out why there was like tiny little pieces of paper in my cup of tea every day. And that's because I'd left the instructions in there. So if
Well, at
I
least you
can
plugged yours in. My new kettle's been on the table for 2 weeks, so
do
in a box.
remember to take the instructions out. So if I can do this honestly, anybody can. That's a funny story. I'm not even lying. It took me a week. And I emptied the water out. I bought new milk. I threw the tea bags in the bin. I could not figure it out until I actually opened the kettle and the
Oh.
instructions are in there. So if I can do this, I can assure you. But just don't overwhelm yourself and know that it takes, you can start scanning yourself every single day from day one, but
Mm.
the more things you do with it over time is how you'll learn. So, yeah. So, thank you
Amazing.
for
Thank you so
jumping on
much.
everyone. Pleasure.
And thank you so much for joining us tonight. And yeah, any other questions, please feel free to just drop them and ask because we're always happy to answer questions about the AO scan. It's a bit of an obsession. So,
It is
all
awesome.
right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And we'll see you
Thank you.
next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.